guys, welcome to my video. My name is Ajane. For those of you who are new, I am an MSW. I just recently got my license, so I am now an LMSW, and I'm super excited to be doing this video. I just kind of wanted to create a video on the different type of jobs that I've done and what I've learned or gained throughout my experience being a social worker. And so I was like going through in my mind like how long I've been a social worker. So I started I've been a social worker since 2016. I ended up getting my degree, my BSW, in 2016, May. And then I actually started my first job in September of 2016. And I worked there for 2 years. I worked in a school setting with little kids, and I absolutely loved it. The work environment was a little rough, especially for my first like real professional job. There was just a lot of conflict. There was just a lot of like sketchiness sometimes. And obviously you're gonna have issues sometimes with coworkers or colleagues, but that's normal and expected. Like, it's very rare that you don't have any conflict within the job organization or system. So that place I stayed a little over 2 years, and I ended up having to quit because I had to begin my graduate practicum, which was paid, so I couldn't work and also do that at the same time. So I had to quit that job, and then I started into kind of the medical field, and that's what brought me into the medical field. So my first like experience, my practicum for my BSW in 2016 was substance use. So I did inpatient substance use at a facility where I think we housed like 8 women at a time, and it was really intimate, really small, really close-knit, and they stayed 30 days. They already had to come detox, and that work environment, it was really only 4 of us actual staff members. We were also affiliated with an outpatient as well, but I did my practicum at the inpatient level, and so it was 4 of us. There was a house mom who stayed there 24/7, and then 2 counselors. One was an LCSW. Actually, she was in the process of getting her LCSW, and then one was kind of like a peer support, peer leader. She was getting her bachelor's, and so she was older than me, and they both had previous experience with addiction and use, and so they used those experiences in their current circumstances of being sober to help motivate and encourage these women. We did groups all day long, and so that was my first experience as a social worker. I had my own clients. I did individual therapy, and then I also did group therapy as well. So I ran a lot of the groups. At one point, I was pretty much doing more than half of the groups every day. So I really enjoyed that. I've learned that I love group settings. I love getting to understand different people's perspectives, different people's opinions, and I love the dialogue and conversation that we can create in a group setting and how other people can learn from each other. It's not necessarily me who's teaching, but it's them being the teachers and also the students. And so I think that's very special and unique and very intimate to be a part of. And so that work environment was pretty good. I put a lot of pressure on myself to reach a certain level because I didn't have any substance use personally as an individual. And so I kind of felt underqualified sometimes because I'm like, at one point I didn't know that a patient was going through withdrawal because I had never experienced that in a person. And I had a lot of my patients come and tell me like, she's triggering us in group. Like, did you see her do this? And I was like, I thought that she was like quirky or unique, and I was pulled aside a lot of the time by my supervisor at the time, who was very gentle and kind with me and loving, and she would always give me just like really good advice and keys in order to help improve me as a professional, and to be more aware of my environment and what things look like and how to not stereotype, but also how to be aware of what was going on, especially in substance use. And so I learned a lot in that environment because it was very intimate. Like I said, it was only 3 of us actually working with the clients. And so she taught me a lot. She held me to a high standard and regard because I was dealing with people's trauma and lives and sobriety, and I know that they have to make decisions, but I did impact that. And so I learned a lot in that environment, and I take so much away from that experience. And I learned a lot about myself professionally, what I really enjoyed, what I really thrived on. And I learned that groups was super important to me. And that definitely encouraged me to continue my education to pursue my MSW. And with my MSW program, so then I ended up going to the school setting, and I went from adults and substance use inpatient, and then I went to children, so school setting, and I learned a lot about behaviors and autism and parents and the responsibility of teachers and staff versus the parents, and making sure that we were advocating for the kids and balancing the parents' rights to determine what was best for their children or child, and also just making sure that we were able to help this child succeed and live a life that was going to be fulfilling and beneficial and meeting the marks, and also pulling them back when they needed more support and extra encouragement and additional services. And so I learned a lot about IEPs, about interacting with parents, with children's division and making referrals, with home visits, with status reports, with attendance. So I also had to balance kids and their storytelling and their emotional state and being, and I had a lot of experience with that as well. And I learned so much about children and their purest hearts and souls, and how environment does play a factor in their development. And I got to see it firsthand, and how important teachers are to the community, how patient you have to be, not only with the child, but with their family. And I'm not talking about parents, I'm talking about sometimes it's the whole family system, how to check myself with dealing with parents who weren't necessarily neglectful, but maybe not as attentive to their child's emotional needs, or kind of dismissive in sense like, oh, he's a boy, he'll grow up and he'll stop crying eventually. And how much care and tender a child needs during these pivotal times in their development. And I learned a lot about myself professionally. I learned how to really withdraw myself and focus on the work that needed to be done, and staying out of drama. Like, I'm not a drama person at all. And that environment, working at that specific organization, there was a lot of tension amongst teachers, and like competition and strife, and we had to meet standards by the state, and it was rough at one point. I was just like, I need to get out of here. But it was also very beneficial. Like, those kids impacted me, and I hope that I impacted them. And that was some of the best years of my life, is learning about those kids, learning who they were, their personalities, and seeing them every day, seeing them run into my office when they would come in, or, you know, playing games with them and spending time outside on the playground with the teachers. And that was great. Then I went to a clinic. So this clinic has multiple different areas in my city, and I would bounce between the different clinics to get different experiences, because some of them had different specialties in some areas, but my main focus was the MAT program. So I went then back to substance use, but it was in more of an outpatient setting, and now medical and health was involved. So this was adding Vivitrol and Subutex to the system, and learning about the reactions, and actually physically seeing people go through withdrawal, and trying to help them and assist them, and connecting them with the community. And actually, this was my first time actually like really being involved with the community, having to go tour the facilities that my patients were staying at, and having a lot of communication, and learning about HIPAA, and learning about, I mean, all of my other jobs taught me about HIPAA, but like, this was like on another level, because I learned a lot about HIPAA. I learned a lot about privacy and restrictions, and locking up medications, and how an interdisciplinary team worked and functioned on that certain level, and how it was important to have everyone in communication and group meetings. Like, I spent a lot of time in meetings every week, going over different cases, going over different issues, different solutions to different problems that we had arise. I learned how I really had to step up in my practicum because there was a lot of people quitting in my specific area. And so at one point, us practicum students were kind of like the OGs, and we had only been there, I think, a total of like eight months. And so by the end of it, we were like, we knew probably more than the LCSWs that were just hired on a few months back. And so that was definitely hard, to be somewhere and not be paid or compensated for as much work and development as we did. I did a lot of groups. I met with patients one-on-one. I obviously had to go to different sites, and I did a lot of working with doctors on what they found to be social issues. I learned about that. What doctors seem or deem as important may not be as important to the patient, and respecting client boundaries and things like that. And so learned a lot about that. And now I am at a hospital setting. So I'm kind of like doing it all. All that I've done in my previous work history, employment, has now cultivated itself into one job. So I'm not residential, but we are at a hospital, which sometimes feels like residential because our patients stay, or the babies stay for an extended weeks, sometimes periods of time. And I'm at a clinic, and also I'm at several clinics, and then I'm also at the hospital level. So I go to the hospital and meet with the hospital staff and interact with them, and working with on a broader level of an interdisciplinary team, and the impact on myself and the client, and working in a hospital setting and learning about the different functionality of the hospital and the politics of the hospital and the restrictions and the freedoms that I get to have that I didn't experience in the other medical, facility. And so, yeah, it's been a long, I'm not gonna talk about my current job right now because you've seen videos, you've seen me kind of like talk about my day and some of the struggles that I have. But overall, my experience over the last 5-6 years of being a social worker has been some of the most touching and beneficial parts of my life. And there's some moments that I will never forget that were super traumatic for me, that still trigger me to this day. And I think that those have a really sensitive spot in my heart. I've learned to deal with that and to come to terms with that and to be at peace with that. And there are times where I do think about it, and I do kind of like have to think about it and reflect and remember all of the good that still comes from this profession, and being able to impact people and help people, and how the world can be a good place and be helpful and beneficial and loving and kind and giving. So it's really nice to see all of that. And I just wanted to like go over my social work experience and kind of reflect on that and have it on video just for myself. But I'm learning. I'm still learning. I'm still gaining skills and learning about myself and how to continue to contribute to the profession, to the community, to myself, and how I can be a better social worker, a better person, a better individual, a better colleague, a better social worker to my patients and clients, in order to continue to show light and to be a light at the end of the tunnel, or hope or encouragement or empowerment or motivation for someone to make those choices at the end of the day, to be the person that they want to be, and to provide them with the things that they need that they can't access on their own, and to also equip them to take charge of their own life, to learn how to access resources and make referrals and advocate for themselves. And I've never had the experience of going to court. Thank God. My coworkers were just telling about their experiences this week, but I've never been to court. I've never been called to court. And to just have a lot of empathy, and my heart hurts for the world. And if I can be one little light that shines on someone, and it's a chain effect, then that's all that matters at the end of the day. But I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave down some of your work experience. You don't have to say anywhere specific where you worked, but like, what jobs have you worked as a social worker? Because I don't think that a lot of people are aware that social workers can be so diverse and multifunctional and do plenty of other things. Also, I've had the opportunity to do trainings and to speak and I love that too. Like, I think that's probably one of my goals is in life is to continue to speak about social work or to help encourage or educate other professionals about maybe substance use and whatever it is I'm passionate about. So I love speaking. I love educating people. I love providing people with insights and clarity about certain populations. And so I hope that you guys enjoy the video. This is kind of just like a synopsis of my life as a social worker, kind of the key things that I've taken away, key experiences, and I can't wait to do this in another 4 or 5 years to see where I've been since this video. So I'm hoping to make a job change this year. Maybe it won't be super of a shock. Maybe it'll still be in the medical field, but I am anticipating some changes this year. And so I'm super excited about that because, like I said, social work is a super diverse field and you can kind of work in whatever setting. So yeah, I hope that you guys are doing well. Bye. Happy Social Work Month.